You are an angel.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bold Badass Business, where we have bold badasses who will give you secrets and hacks that will help you boost your business and put you in the running for the amazing business of your dream. And you all, today, I am super excited to have Michele Abraham, who is the founder of Amplifyou, one of the major podcasting agencies. She has launched hundreds of podcasts, and she's on a mission to amplify voices, to ignite curiosity and excitement, and to bring more visibility to your business. So welcome to the show, Michele.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Barnsley. I'm excited to be here.
I'm thrilled that you're here. And I know are you still in Mexico? You've just come back from Mexico,
I
right?
just flew in on a plane about 7 hours ago.
Muy bien.
Yes.
Hola. ¿Qué
Hola.
tal? Bienvenida a los Estados Unidos. Bienvenida. All right. Well, that's exciting. And I know you were doing some great stuff down in Mexico. Do you want to tell people what you were doing there, first of all?
Sure.
Just quick.
So I love Mexico. First of all, we were in Puerto Vallarta, and we have this retreat center called Casa de Influencia, which is not the Castle of Flu. It is the House of Influence. I have to be careful how I say it. My Spanish is not the greatest, so it could come out wrong. We run a retreat. My retreats are called Aligned Adventures because I believe when people get out from behind the computer screens, magic happens. And so it's all about connection, creativity, collaboration, contribution. So we were working on our storytelling. So throughout the week, we were practicing our storytelling, and then we got to get up on stage on our rooftop stage at the retreat center and share our messages with the world. And so we did that in an all-day event that we hosted for the local entrepreneurs in Puerto Vallarta. It was so much fun, and of course, our ladies that were there on the retreat with us were working on launching their podcasts. So we had a lot of fun. I co-hosted it with international composer and musician Julie Blue. So a lot of our storytelling we helped kind of pull it out of us with some magic music and singing. And in fact, we were singing to the whales on a Sunday morning on a boat trip, and these whales emerged and came out like within 3 feet of the boat. It was incredible. It was like so magical. I loved it.
That's incredible. I love that. That you were singing and they came out, and just,
Yeah.
what a magical ending, right? To
It
the
was. The
retreat.
boat driver was in tears. He'd never seen them that up so close before. It was so cool.
Well, obviously you all created magical energy in the retreat. It
Mhm.
sounds fabulous. I need to find out about that as well. I've always wanted to go to Puerto Vallarta. It's supposed to be one of those incredible places in Mexico. I've been to Mexico a number of times, but just not to
Mhm.
Puerto Vallarta. So, well, today, you all, everybody listening, we are, in addition to finding out what she was doing in Mexico, what Michele was doing in Mexico, what was Michele doing in Mexico, right? The
That
secret.
stays in Mexico. No, just kidding.
Ooh.
Stays between me and the whales.
Right. They won't tell, hopefully. They might splash you, but they won't tell. So in what we're going to talk about, everybody, is why podcasting is a waste of time. Now, obviously, this is an intriguing title, given the fact that Michele launches podcasts and amplifies people's voices through them. So, Michele, this was such a great title. What spurred this title?
Oh my gosh. Well, I have to tell you, there is a lot of truth to this title that podcasting is a total waste of your time. But there's a caveat to it. Only if you don't do some of these things. And I've seen it over and over and over again that it does become a waste of someone's time. And so much effort goes into whether you're hosting or podcast guesting. And a lot of time and effort is wasted if there's a few things that aren't in alignment.
Mm. So true. So true. And, I love doing my show, and it's been almost a year now. We're about to have our 1 year
Congrats.
anniversary. We're a toddler now. Yay.
Yay.
But, I love doing it. And like you say, it doesn't feel like work to me, but it is very time intensive. If you are going to have fantastic guests like we have on Bold Badass Business and like you have on your podcast, there's a lot that goes into it, into the promotion, into the follow-up, And people usually think about promoting before, but they
Mhm.
forget about promoting after. And the thing is, this is going to be on the internet. It's going to be there forever.
Right. And one of the other things I think is funny too is that people think that they promote the episode the week it comes out, and then they
Mm.
never promote it again after that.
Yes.
Whereas like people can, you can keep promoting it like several times a year and it'll reach new people. So it's kind of one of those things. You got to dust off those old episodes and bring them back out again.
I love that. And do you have a system that you recommend to people? I'm all about systems, where you cycle them through. So, you
Mm,
don't just do them once. I know our mutual friend, Jenny Bellinger, she's really good at cycling hers,
mm.
So do you have a
Yeah.
system? Do you do it? How do you do that for
So
those listeners?
we usually do it based on our guests. So we reach out to our guests at like right away when the episode goes out, like same as you do, you give your guests like these great assets to be able to promote the show. So we give them an audiogram and a video gram, and we give them a images, we give them social media content to post out, and then we do it 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. So we continue the relationship going. One of the things that I really want to bring more to the attention of podcasters is that like when you have a guest on, it's not a transaction. It's like the beginning of a relationship. And so to keep nurturing those relationships. And in fact, I was on a show. Actually, I had a guest on my show a few years ago. Her name's Lady Jen Duplessis, and she had about 1,600 interviews she'd done over the course of the last few years, and she was sharing with me how she has them all on a spreadsheet. And when someone looks for a speaker or needs a connection to someone or is looking for a certain kind of expert, she can go to that list first and go, okay, who was on my show I really loved? And here, connect them to this person, this person, this person. And I think that was a really great way of just continuing that relationship going, continuing that promotion. Hey, remember we did that podcast interview couple of years ago. I'm just going to post it out again this week because it's something relevant someone said in the news or something relevant in my news feed. Let's bring that episode up again, and another reason to reach out to that guest that you had on.
That's fabulous. I love that. Connecting it to current trends, connecting it
Mm-hmm.
to news trends and bringing it out, because that's when you'll have the opportunity to potentially have something go viral,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
So
that's fabulous.
if you add from like, so what Jen was saying with the, you have the list of the date of the episode, the person you had as the guest on the episode, what you talked about on the show, what their expertise is, but then go one more step further and then link your episode there. And so that you can be reminded when certain current events come up or things, you can be like, hey, I did a podcast episode on that. And it's like, instead of going through iTunes and looking for the title through like 200 episodes, you have it all there on your spreadsheet.
Oh
Makes
my
it a
God, I'm so
makes
glad you said that. I've got a meeting with my VA on Wednesday. I'm going to make sure we have that. But we do have our spreadsheet, and that is super important. And, like you, I really see this as it's a way to build relationships.
Mhm.
For me, it's about building the relationships. And that
Yeah.
just naturally leads to collaborations and connections and referrals where I'm referring
Yeah.
people and they're referring me. It just naturally leads to that. So I think
Yeah.
it's one of the best ways, instead of doing one-on-ones with people that, I'm not saying they're bad, but we can do short one-on-ones and we can determine what we're going to do on the podcast. And then the podcast is a great opportunity to go deeper than we actually
Mhm.
could in a one-on-one. And it also benefits others. So it's a way to leverage our time, really thinking about this as you and
Mhm.
I having a one-on-one as well.
Right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's the best use of time for a one-on-one, and I welcome everyone on my podcast that I want to have a one-on-one with because it's a great way to get to know someone better. I think their relationship accelerates through a podcast interview, the same as it would over like 5 coffee dates, right? So
Exactly.
I think you just kind of get to the point a lot faster, and you get to know them a lot quicker.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's one of the ways as a podcast host that makes podcasting not a waste of your time is that you have your show positioned as like the best networking tool. So if you have it positioned correctly in your business, you're constantly speaking to people that could be either your joint venture partners or they could be your or your potential clients. So you're just constantly having conversations with the right people. You'll never run out of leads for your business.
That's so fantastic. And yeah, it really is the best networking tool.
Mhm.
It really is, because it's just going to lead to all sorts of things. When I started inviting some affiliates, guess what? Guess who I
Mhm.
invited? People who'd been on my show, or
Mhm.
people whose show I had been on, or we'd done a show swap. It just is a natural way to extend that relationship. And of course, you and I met on the Podcasters
Yes, we
Cruise,
did.
which, by the way, you all, is
So
fantastic.
much fun.
Fantastic. You need to go podcastersatsea.com and tell them who sent you, Dr. Bonsley. Dr.
Yay.
Bonsley. And that helps me too, because I'd like to be a speaker. Michelle was a
Mhm.
fabulous speaker there. You said some stuff that I was like,
Thank you.
whoa, I took so many notes during your presentation. So what I'm hearing from you so far, these are just awesome ideas. I just want to recap them for those of you who were tardy, right? If you were tardy, get a recap.
You missed
So
some good stuff. Sorry.
yeah, missed some great stuff. Too bad. You suck. No, I'm just kidding. I am often late. My ex-husband used to say that I was on Peruvian time and he was on American time.
Hey, I was just on Mexican time, so I get it.
You know what I'm talking about. Like, if you're going
Yeah.
to the airport, you better be happy that that Uber or whatever comes sometime that
Yeah.
day. You
Our
know,
event started 45 minutes late because people hadn't arrived yet. So
it's how it goes.
I'm like, where's
It's
everybody?
how it goes. And it's interesting, because that really is, if you think about it, most Central American and also South American cultures are just so relationship oriented.
Yeah.
It's all about the relationship and not really about being on time. And that's kind of how I am. Anyway, so if you heard, those of you who were here, good for you. Those of you who weren't, here's what Michelle has already given us. Keep a spreadsheet so that when you have your podcast, so that you can recommend people. So you hear about a summit and you think, oh my God, I had a guest who would be the perfect person. Then you've got everything in one place. You can connect that guest with the podcast, with the summit director, the summit, whatever organizer. And you've effectively just really boosted that relationship. You can also cycle your guests back through. So keep abreast of current trends and news events, and then say, oh, wow, I had this great person on the issues with the AI and whether we drive AI or AI drives us. And guess what? There's this whole thing going on right now with this debate, this ethical debate. We can bring that one out. And then that episode has a chance to go viral. Michelle also talked about your show being the best networking tool ever. And also I think you also, let me know if this is true. You said cycle through, that you all also cycle the episodes. You rerun them.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
we re-promote them several times a year, like 3 to 4 times a year, so that we're constantly promoting episodes. So it's not just like a once and done kind of thing. And that's how you can continue that relationship going on with your podcast guests, but also, just we'll send them say, hey, here's another image. We're going to promote this episode again next week. If you want to as well, that'd be great. Please tag us in it. Mhm.
That is so fabulous. So then you get that doubling of your audience.
Multiple promotions, right? Yeah,
Yeah, take
exactly.
over social media, girlfriend. Just do it. Take it all over about that episode. No, that's fantastic. So those of you listening, I hope you're taking notes. This is really important. And keep in mind that Michele founded Amplifyou, huge podcasting agency. She knows what she's talking about. It's one of the top ones in the world. And so she
I'm a
knows.
dinosaur in podcasting. I was in podcasting 11 years ago when people are like, what the hell's a podcast?
Yeah, what's a podcast?
Like,
Type
what's a
of bean?
podcast?
What is it?
I have 2 more kind of tips for you as a podcast host. And then I actually have some as I know some of your audience may not be podcast hosts themselves or not started their podcast yet, maybe thinking about it still. But I know a lot of your audience also might be podcast guests. So there's a couple of ways to make podcast guesting not a waste of time too. So I can share those with you. But the last 2 major tips that I wanted to share with you, we've already kind of brushed on them. One was that you'd mentioned that you're at a year of podcasting under, which congratulations, that's amazing. So one of the things that makes podcasting not a waste of your time is that consistently publishing your episode every week. So did you know that 95% of shows don't make it past episode 20? And so you're already like episode 52 or beyond because it's been over a year.
Mm-hmm.
So you're well beyond that space. So you're already in the 5% because the other 95 have already dropped off. And those 95 drop off because they don't have a system in place to help them. They don't have support. They don't have like a VA or a podcast management company helping them continue going on. And they're not consistent with their show, or they're not really willing to be flexible. Because sometimes when you start a show, you think you're going to talk about cats and dogs. And then season one's really only really about dogs. And then season three might just be about, Cocker Spaniels. So you got to be
Crocodile.
flexible. Yeah, you got to be flexible. And the clarity comes in your messaging the more you speak and the more you get out there. And so the other trick about the 20 episodes, and what happens is, say I have a topic that I'm passionate about. Great, I'm going to be an expert on cats and dogs. So I'm going to go out there and share everything I know about cats and dogs. Well, I'm going to run out of content at 20 episodes because you can't have that much expertise on the topic that you can't run out of it. But instead, if you flip right way the way you think about it, it's like, hey
Mm-hmm.
everybody, I'm going to start a journey on sharing my journey about learning and discovering about cats and dogs with you all. Come on the journey with me as I learn and you learn too. Then you're still an expert. You're a few steps ahead of your listeners, but it's you're not being, hey, I'm the expert, listen to everything I'm saying. It's like, hey, come along the journey. Your listener becomes the hero and you become like Yoda as bringing them along the journey with you. So that, if you position your podcast just like the way you do, which is amazing, it's like, hey, come on and learn from all these experts with me. Come and dive in as we learn how to building a kick-ass business and making our businesses better. So that's the way, and that's the positioning you have to have. If you come out of there and say, listen to me, I'm the expert, I know how to do all the SEO and all this kind of stuff, it's not going to work.
I'd
And
be
your
bored as
listeners,
hell listening to
totally,
myself
right?
over and over. It's like,
Exactly.
God, one thing I love about the
Exactly.
show is like I leave here jazzed up with new ideas. I've taken all these notes
Mm-hmm.
from what
Yeah.
you've shared, and that is one of the major things. And I have over 20 business seminars, but I'm not going to get on here and do those. How boring as hell would that be? Don't y'all agree? Just put yes. I'm not going to judge you. I agree with you. If you're
Right.
making yourself bored, you've made everybody else really bored, like they're running.
Right.
So, Michele, I love that. Yeah. So we make the listener the hero, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the guest,
Mm-hmm.
you're the hero. You're the one
Right.
coming in, giving your time and really
Mm-hmm.
supporting me with my audience. So
Yeah.
you're the hero here as well. And I think that makes all the difference in the world, not just in podcasting, but in networking.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a
Yeah.
giver or are you a taker?
Right? Are you doing networking as pest working? Or, yeah.
But
Or are you connecting? That's what I like to call
yeah.
connecting. But one other tip around that kind of like experience is that you're holding spaces like this is your show. I'm
Mm.
bringing on a guest to help my audience learn more, plus me. But what you're doing in the show is amazing. I hope you don't mind me saying, because I want to say that you're doing this amazingly, is that you're relating everything I'm saying back to your audience. So in terms that they can understand it, and you're making sure they're getting the nuggets. And
Yeah.
you're still you're still holding the expertise. Like, coach, you're the boss babe on this show. I'm just coming along to share some extra information, and you're keeping that audience engaged with you too, because you're like, hey, did you hear what she said? Well, take notes on here. And I do that on my show too. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
Amplifyou family, like, hey, stop for a second, do you hear what she said about these things? Like, hey, write
Yes.
those down. And it's related back to like what we're trying to do here. So that's like a perfect way of like managing, like you still being like, the boss babe of the show, but
The
also
container
learning
kind of.
along the journey.
So
Exactly.
do you
Yeah,
want to know my favorite way to interrupt my guest,
I
Michele?
do. Yes.
My favorite way, because, stuff comes out of y'all's mouths and I'm like, oh my God. And people are just flying through because we live with our expertise
Mm-hmm.
24 hours a day and
Mm-hmm.
we take it for granted a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be, oh, wait, let me pause you a second. That's my way of saying I'm
That's
going
a
to
great
interrupt
one. I
you,
love it.
right?
Let me
Let me
pause you.
pause you for a second. This is a total gem. Would you back up? And I love to actually put the gems. Sometimes I'm putting the gems over in the chat and just doing that as well. And
Mm.
yeah, I love that because we want to reinforce. and
Yeah.
reinforce what's being said, so that those of you listening, your time is really well spent.
Mhm.
And not only are you entertained, but you're edutained. You're
Right.
educated and entertained.
Yeah, and then it's not so hard for you to pull out those nuggets because you've done the job of pulling it out for them. And like,
Yeah.
listen to this one. The other really cool thing, which I absolutely love that you've implemented too, and it's one of my favorite things is as a podcast host, it's important that we are obviously elevating our guests. Our guests want to share a gift, which is cool. But when our guest shares a gift, then it goes to their thing and then off they go and then never see your listeners again sometimes. But if we have this container that we can make really cool, like a toolkit or something, then we can have our guests go into that toolkit as well as our listeners, and then it's all in one place. So when I had the podcast called Blissful Parenting, we'd have parenting experts come on, and these are people who've written books and have gotten courses and amazing content, amazing experts. And the real reason I did that podcast as a host is because I just wanted to be a better parent. And what we decided to do, and the way we monetize this show, is we put people into our toolkit, and we told our audience, hey audience, go over there and get the toolkit. We put our videos from YouTube in there as well, because if they were listening by audio, now when they go into the toolkit, it's free membership for our listeners. They can now see the video too, which is helpful sometimes.
And
And
Michele,
then
I hope you said listen to this video and subscribe.
exactly, listen to the video
Yes.
and subscribe
And
for sure.
subscribe while you're there.
Exactly. And then some of our, we would watch our analytics. And so we would put our guests in there with their gifts. So now our listeners have gone into our vault. So now have control of the email list, which is great. And then our listeners can go in and see all these amazing tools in one place. They don't have to remember all the different tools that all of our guests have shared. And then they're all over the place. They just know if they go to our toolkit, they'll get everything. So they go in there, they get everything. And what we knew is that some of our guests were like brilliant and they had these great products and services. So we became an affiliate for them, or we co-created something with them. So one guest, we co-created a little mini course all about NLP, using NLP for your to talk to your kids. And it was like 3 series, a little video, and we sold that inside the membership. And so we shared that commission with our guests and with ours as well. So there's just so many cool things that you can do with that little toolkit. And that was a tip I shared on the
Okay.
Podcasters Cruise.
I'm
That's
going
so
to
cool.
pause you now. I'm going to pause you, Michele. Okay, y'all, she's laying down gold. Like this is better. This is better than gold. This is platinum for real. And it can take a little bit of time to wrap your head around the idea, you all. So I'm going to back up for a second, because I know when I heard it from you, Michele, at the Podcasters Cruise, at first I was like, whoa, that's genius. And then I had to wrap my head around it. The whole idea, you all, is that you either have your own website domain, or you put it on your existing website as a hidden page, right? And what you're going to do is send people from your show to that page. And on that page, you will have the free gifts of all your guests, all the free gifts of your guests, with a quick little annotation of what they are. You'll have something that says, you can watch the full episode and subscribe here. So they can click and they go to the YouTube of your show for that particular guest.
Mhm.
And here's the other thing that Michele kind of flew through, and I want you to get it, is you give your affiliate link in that freebie vault on your website. You give your affiliate link, so that when somebody comes in and they click your link and they go to, say, Michele's program, and they purchase something, guess who gets a commission? Me, or whoever is hosting the freebie vault. So
Mhm.
to see an example, you all, I'm really thrilled because ours is live now. Yay! And here is your easy link. This is the other thing. Don't give people some long ass link where they're like, oh God, what did they just say? Go to frickin' Bitly, you all. Damn. Here's your badass tip today. Go to Bitly and get you a nice custom link, right? Don't you do something like go and get the freebie vault, blah, blah, blah.com. Nobody's going to go. They're going to misspell it. So here's mine. bit.ly / free from Dr. B. free from Dr. B. That's it. bit.ly/free from Dr. B. So that you can remember it. You go there, you'll opt in. And when you opt in, you get access not to just the amazing stuff that Michelle's going to give us. You know, obviously she's given us so much great info, but what she gives as a gift, you'll get access to that. But here's the cool thing. When you opt in, you're going to get access to the gifts of all the guests. At this point, over 50 guests are there. Actually, I think it's more than 55 now. You will have thousands and thousands of dollars of gifts. And so this is good for me, obviously, because you're opting in, and I'll be able to share other things with you, VIP offers, invite you to my online seminars, etc. But it's so great for you, and it's great for all the guests, because when somebody goes in to see Michele, they may look down and see Carrie Oberbrunner and say, oh my God, I want his gift on that video on how to turn your book into 18 streams of income. Oh my God. And so it really supports everybody. That's what the freebie vault is. And this is just genius. Where did you figure this out, Michele?
Great explanation of that. I love it. First of all, and amazing taking action on creating it.
Yes.
This came from my co-host or my partner in Blissful Parenting. Chuck and I were kind of figuring out how can we, what had happened with our Blissful Parenting podcast is we had a huge, which you've been on Chuck's other podcasts before, his collaboration podcast. Anyways, so he and I were trying to figure out, okay, we have this list of like 60,000 parents. How do we help that? How do we help our experts that are coming on the show connect with those parents other than just through the podcast interviews? So it ended up being a way that we could also monetize our podcast. So taking it another step further, we were creating those little mini courses. We were putting those experts in a featured spot, which if they could opt to pay for a featured spot to be right at the beginning. So, imagine after you have like 500 episodes, it could get a little crowded in there. So if you want a featured spot, you pay a little extra to get featured in the top there. So that was where we really wanted to serve the parents and make things easy for the parents to do. And then also connect those parents with these amazing experts we were with. And the key to this, and which is why you have that easy Bitly link, is because what are your listeners doing while they're listening to the podcast? They're like walking the dog, at the gym, cooking dinner. And then with our parents, blissful parents, they're like got kids in the background and they are doing all sorts of crazy things. So you have to have something easy for them to remember. Otherwise, forget it. You lost.
They'll never get there. Yeah. And it's got to be not only easy to remember, but easy to spell. So don't use anything that has a homonym, for example, that sounds like another word, or don't even use a number, because if you use a number, people are not going to know if they have to put the digit or they have to spell it out. So just avoid that stuff. And I really believe, in terms of marketing, I'd love to know what you think, Michele. I really believe that we want to use the Anglo-Saxon roots of our language. There are two roots to English. There's Latinate and then there's Germanic. We want the Germanic. That's like free from Dr. B. Monosyllabic words that have punch. And they're easy to remember.
Yeah. And I mean, you could even go as far as getting a domain that's freegiftfrommichele.com. So it's just easy. And no matter if so here's the real key thing. And this is going to be one of my tips for your podcast guests too, when we get to this part. When you go onto a show and you're sharing what your free gift is, I can cry probably thinking about how many times I've given gift links that are no longer active out there. And this is where these mistakes of making podcasts to waste your time is. I'm only sharing them because I've done them. And this is where I'm coming to you. Like, don't make these mistakes. It's painful because now I have to go back to like 100 podcast interviews I've done and give them proper links and new links. So if you get a link like yours with the Bitly one, or if you get a whole domain, the gift can change over time. It doesn't matter, but the link stays the same. So podcast is evergreen. People are listening to podcasts years down the road. You want
Mhm.
that link to still work, and you don't want it to be, and you don't have to go back to all the podcasts you've been on. It's that's work for you, and it's work for the host. And most of the times, the host will say, "Forget it." Like,
I'm
we're
so
not
glad you
changing
pointed this
anything.
out. Did
Yeah.
y'all listen? Did y'all listen? Stop walking the dog. Tell the dog to sit and listen up here. This is gold, because otherwise you're gonna look super unprofessional. You're not gonna look like a business badass. If somebody clicks your link and it takes you to 404 error,
Mhm.
then you look unprofessional. But this
Mhm.
way, what Michelle's saying, when you have a bit.ly link, you can change what's on that page that you're taking them to, but your link is going to be the same. And 20 years down the road, provided you still have that domain, they're going to be able to get on and get these gifts. So really, we want to think long term, everybody. Those of you listening, think long term. Really think strategically about stuff. It took me a while to get a system with my VA, Michelle, for
Yeah.
getting the assets, getting the
Mhm.
graphics and the swipe copy to people. And we're still perfecting some stuff. But once we got the system, it's just so much easier, so
Yeah,
much
then
easier.
then you're running a lot smoother operation. It doesn't feel as much work. It's a bit of work to set all this up in the beginning. Like, we're not gonna lie to you guys. It's a challenge, but when to get through that challenge, it's so worth it. To now think about, you're always going to be able to be speaking to your potential clients, your joint venture partners, having these conversations, you're networking. No need to go to networking events anymore. You're now having these coffee dates, no more random coffee dates. You're talking to the right people, you're connecting email addresses, you're growing your email list. This is the way I think, is like, if you've properly done this and you've integrated podcasting into your business, you'll never stop doing it. And so those 95% of people that don't make it to episode 20, if they just done a little bit of the legwork at the beginning and had some strategy or some thought or some coaching around it at the beginning, they would still be podcasting too, instead of it being a waste of their time.
And don't forget, like, I was at a networking event earlier. I think I'll never stop networking, Michelle, because I just
Mhm.
love I love meeting people. I just do, and I meet interesting people, thankfully. And I was at this networking event, and somebody had been on the show, and I just looked like a rock star because she was one
Mhm.
of the leaders, and she kept saying, "Well, I was on Barnsley's show, Dr. Barnsley's show, and let me just show you what they sent, and here's what I did with it to take it even further." And I was just like, "Yeah." And she said, "And we had this fantastic conversation. Let me just show you." And so I looked like
Mhm.
a rock star in front of all those people. So
Oh.
don't forget about that when
Mhm.
you become known, and Michelle, I'm just going, boop, I just realized that you and Chuck have blissful parenting
Yeah.
together. I realized that like 20 minutes ago, and I was like, it went right over my head. Love him, Chuck Anderson. He's been on my show. I've been on his podcast,
Mhm.
and definitely I'm going to bring my children's book onto y'all's when
Yeah.
it's ready. But once you become known, what you find is it really is true. Birds of a feather flock together.
Mhm.
And also, those people who are, we hear about the people who have, shall we say, unscrupulous morals. We hear about them too, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
The
We
world
hear,
is
we
a
get the
small
dirt.
place.
We get the dirt. I'll never forget somebody at the Podcasters Cruise. I'm not going to say names. Somebody at the Podcasters Cruise, in fact, who said, "Oh my God, I could tell you about at least a third of the people I've had some issues with in here that were," yeah. And I said,
Wow.
"Yeah." And I thought,
Hope I wasn't one of them. Jeez.
"Ooh, I don't think you were one of
No.
but I thought, whoa." And she said,
Yeah.
"And if I didn't tell you about somebody else, this person over here could tell you about those people too." So word does get around. It
Right.
really does. And
Yeah.
people
It's
find
all
out
important.
stuff. I was just told
Yeah.
something that I was like, oh my God, this person had dumped over $17,000 into a program, and the person running it got a little nutty and decided they were going to kick them out and never refunded the money. Can you imagine?
Wow.
And I
Yeah,
had
that's
been to
something.
an event with that person, and I will never attend another one. I
Wow.
just won't. Yeah. We got to, you
Yeah.
all, here's the thing. Run your business. Being a badass doesn't mean you take advantage of people. Being a badass means you have the guts to
Mhm.
stand up for what you believe in, and
Right.
you share. You are a giver. You share with others, and
Right.
you don't, use your authority to lord over people, or to
Right.
sell things that are not appropriate for them, for instance. Yeah.
One of the cool things I think is that when you are running in the business, like so I'm all about high vibe, and that's the new business that I'm moving more towards. Like I've got a mastermind called High Vibe Leaders, and it's really essentially all of them are podcasters or authors or coaches in there. So it's still the same community, but we're talking about running a business that's in alignment with you, and running a business that's like really aligned with like your values. And one of the things that I always find, like, so everyone would always ask us, like, why do we have like a very, very, very tiny refund percentage in Amplifyou? Like almost nobody, like I think in 7 years we gave maybe one refund or two refunds. And it's because most of our clients came from referrals. So most of our clients had a really good experience, and then they referred someone else that had a really good experience. And we treat those people like gold, because referrals are so valuable, because your clients have done the already convincing part in singing your praises. So for us, I think that's really why we had such a low refund rate, just because of the type of people. Like we weren't getting people from random ads or anything like that. They were vetted, and we laugh because we don't even really have a proper website at Amplifyou. It's like amplifyounetwork.com, and it's like literally you go there and it's all the shows that a lot of the shows we've worked with is on the first page. It's not doing anything about us. We always laugh. We're kind of like, you need the secret knock to get in the back door to know us before you can find out information of us, which, in business, that's probably not really smart. But at the same time, it put a barrier between us and the crazies. And so then only people we work with were people that referred people to us or connected us directly. So I kind of like that way of doing business.
All right, so I'm gonna tell you something. I don't know if it's the same Amplifyou, but it might be. I was trying to go to something the other day and I couldn't find the website. And it might have been I was trying to go to something that Steve Rossman was doing.
Yes, that was definitely.
And that is so funny because I was looking, I said, I am like a master researcher. I can't find this. And then I was kicking myself because I said, I know I registered, but where was it I registered?
Yeah, well, see, and that's not a good thing. But the other business little tip I'm going to give too, Amplifyou is spelled very weird, not a smart thing to do. So it's like
Yes,
Amplifyou, and we spelt it so it's really cool, but it's like we've dropped one of the Y's. So when every people are trying to find it, they're like they spell amplify and then
and
you,
they spell
YOU,
you.
and put the two together, and that's not how we spell it. And so, with podcasting, especially if you're going to start a show, be literal. It's way easier to find you in search
Yeah.
engines and everything like that. So we had to go buy all the other domains that had the double Y's in them, and like
Yeah,
redirect
and
things. And
redirect them.
yeah,
So
so
all that comes back to the point about the links. Do the same
make
thing,
it easy.
and make it something where when somebody hears it, they will have a sense of the timbre, the
Yeah.
tone of your podcast. Mine is bold, badass
Mhm.
business. So you get a sense of, we're going to have our sassy pants on, and we're going to have a little
Totally.
bit of a contrarian view of things. We're not going to give you the same old crap you're hearing in a lot of places. And yours, blissful parenting, perfect. Who would put
Mhm.
blissful and parenting together? That's great. And it
Yeah.
tells us the result that comes from listening.
Right. More literal,
That's
that
what
one
you
for sure.
want.
I got smarter.
Bold badass business. So
Yeah,
I should send everybody who comes on, I should actually send you all out some sassy pants. How would that be? You'll
I
get some
like
sassy
it.
pants.
That's
Sassy
great.
pants, because we put on our sassy pants. And that's important because, you know, so much of what we hear in business is just the same shit. It's just composted, and it's over and over and over. And to have some new tips like your freebie vault tip, that is freaking genius. You all listening, we always strive to bring you people who are going to bring genius. They're going to bring a different perspective, and they're going to get you thinking about how
Mhm.
you do things, and they're going to give you hacks so you don't make these mistakes that we've made. Most of what we
Right?
learn, right? We learn by the school of hard knocks.
And I'm coming to you with all humbleness, is that all these tips came from crap that I did wrong. And so it's only because I tried them and I did them badly that we get to share now all the wise wisdom of how to do it right. And before we wrap up, Barnes, I want to share so we talked kind of like about being a podcaster a little bit. And I know a
Mhm.
lot of your audience are probably going on as guests. Well, you can flip some of these tips around, but there's like 3 really specific ones for which makes podcast guesting completely waste of your time. So it's okay
Mm.
if I share them like super quick, those
Yes,
3?
that's
Okay.
great.
Okay, so
Fantastic.
for a podcast guest, if you so I'm going to use blissful parenting as an example. I'm the host of Blissful Parenting. We serve parents of school age kids. Period. That's it. So if you come to me and you're like a toddler coach and you're helping parents like with the languaging of toddlers, helping them with behavior stuff, that is not a right fit for my audience. My audience will tune the heck out, and you're not going to get any benefit of being on my show. So that is like a hard no. And you should have a hard no of applying to that show. So, as a podcast guest, think about who has your perfect audience. And if they don't have your perfect audience, it is a waste of your time because you're not going to get anything from it. And their audience is not going to get anything from it. Even if the host is like, yeah, sure, come on, it's still not going to be worth your time. So making sure that audience alignment is there is really important. And then the second thing is that we've already kind of covered this, but just reiterating that call to action as you going on as a guest now. Now we've talked about it as a host standpoint, have that vault is amazing. Now, if you're a guest going on a show, you want to have that link that people can hear and remember. So free gift from Michelle or the bit.ly.com/ Dr. B is a badass, something like that, right? So something people are going to remember, something short and something sweet and something that can change over time, but that link never changes. That gift could change. So that was like really important as a guest to make sure you have that in place. And then number 3 is FU. Just FU. It's called follow up. And if you don't follow up, it is like the big FU, right? And so how many
Yes.
times have you had guests on your show that have like, after they've been on the show, you never hear from them again?
Exactly. And you know what?
Even
I
the
just
ones you know, ouch,
I
right?
know. And I put this thing, I know you saw it where I put this thing, and remember that you've agreed by appearing on Bold Badass Business that you're going to share this with your email list and or social media. Well, I started adding that because I learned the hard way, Michelle,
Mhm.
that a lot of people would just expect me to promote their crap, them, and they wouldn't do it. And you don't want to be that guest. Don't be the
Exactly.
guest who just goes on like a prima donna and says, and then disappears. Yes,
Right.
and be gracious. Say thank you. When you're the
Thank you.
guest, say thank you. When you are the host, say thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you goes a
You
long
know?
way. I can probably like hundreds of interviews I've done, and like probably like on a handful of people that said thank you. Like it's crazy, right? It just seems like normal common sense. But thank you for having me on the show. And following up, like if you don't follow up, it is like telling them the big F you. Like really, like follow up. How can I help you? And even at the end of the episode, how else can I support you by getting this podcast out? Obviously, that's an obvious given. I'm going to support you by promoting this episode. But 2, are you looking for any other crazy, amazing guests like myself? Are you looking for a certain kind of clients? How else can I help you? How else can I connect with you? This is our beginning of our relationship or an extension of our relationship. So I want to be able to support your show and you. And thank you for having me on the show. So and then this is where we now flipping it back to the host thing. This is why we follow up at certain intervals over the course of the year because we want to stay in touch and it gives us an opportunity to stay in touch. As the podcast guest, there's all sorts of different things that you could do. You can send a thank you card. You can reach back out, or you can say, "Hey, you can take the initiative as a guest and re-promote the episode several times, and just tag the host in it."
Tag the
And
host
they'd
and
be like,
say
"Oh my
how
god,
the
that's
night.
amazing!" And then especially go and give them a review. Give them a 5-star review on the platform of their choice. Give them a review. And I ask people to give me a review before they get on the show, so I know they've listened to the show.
Yes.
But I would say 96% of people probably don't, even after you ask them to, which is like, come on. So
You just
let's
gave me an
just say,
idea, Michelle. Can I pause
go,
you?
yeah, go for it.
Remember my interruption
Buzz,
strategy?
buzz.
Pause
Stop
you.
talking.
No, but you gave me an idea. I just got so excited. Okay. Because it's the 1 year, I have to look at the exact date, but it doesn't matter. In March, I'm going to throw a fucking birthday party for all
Yay!
my guests.
Bring them all
How
on.
cool
Yeah.
is that? I'm going to invite all y'all to come in. And then I think I will just pause us and I will say, I want you to, let's pause now. Everybody go and write a review for the show. And if you'd like me to write a review for your show, let me know and I'll do it after this, right? Or however I can help you. I'll give people, here's your choice. Tell me what you want me to do. And I just think, so I'm giving them birthday presents, which is so fun.
Well,
Right?
also too, I think having the birthday party is an amazing way for your guests to network with each other. They can get to know each other
Yes.
too.
Everybody will be able to connect and be on each other's shows. I just love that. And we know, we know that way it's going to be so good. And of course, the people who are going to come are going to be the most motivated people, right?
Totally.
They're the ones who are going to show up. They're the ones who are going to F you, who are going to, y'all, that means follow up. All right. Remember, F you. You'll laugh.
We
You
got
and I are on the same wavelength, Michele.
That
I
was
just
nice
did
for
something
you.
like that in a business thing. And I was like, let's call this one F you. And it was about follow up. So it
See,
made
we think
everybody laugh.
alike.
Yeah, but it is an FU in the bad sense when we don't follow up with someone, because then we think, oh gosh, well, I must have not been that, if we're a guest, I must have not been that impressive, or, oh, wow, well, they, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, bye-bye. It feels like a one-night stand instead of a marriage. And what we want, you all, is a marriage, or at least, if not a marriage, I don't really want to ever be married again, but if we want a partnership.
Partnership, there you go.
Partnership where that person knows who we are. And we do, what I think you said about the 3, 6, and 9 months. I'm going to implement this somehow. My poor VA, she's going to have another thing to do, but I'm going to implement this. But for now, I'm just going to do my birthday party. All right.
Yeah, I love it.
Because that's all leveraged together. But the 3, 6, 9 month thing, I love, because it sends such a clear signal. We're in this for the long term. We promoted you before. We're going to promote you again. We want to promote you. And how about we both promote, and let's partner. Let's not just let that be a one-time thing that 200 people listen to. Let's keep the energy going. As we all know, just as in Facebook, when you get on Facebook and you're like, how did I not see that? Well, because of algorithms, you all. You're going to see stuff at different times, and depending on what's going on with different platforms. So it just makes sense to not just let it be a one-time, 1-week promotion.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Michele, I know we got to finish up. Let me repeat. This has been great, hasn't it? You all put in the chat, it FU has. I'm FUing. You're following up. You're following up. And here's how you follow up, you all. And Michele's going to tell us what she's got, but I'm going to say the link where you go to get access to what she shares, as well as thousands of dollars of other gifts from everybody else who's been on the show. You go to bit.ly/free from Dr. B. bit.ly/free from Dr. B. All right. And you just opt in, and then you're going to be able to access all that stuff. Over 55 amazing gifts from kick-ass, badass experts. So, Michele, what are you adding to the exciting freebie vault? Woo.
I love it. Well, my brother, who is also the CEO of Amplifyou, him and I together created this really cool training that's how to use some of the new AI tools to really pump up your podcast. So yes, so we got a little training in there for you. So enjoy. Reach out to us if you need anything.
How to use the AI tools to pump up your podcast. OMG. And I'm sure you all, that even if you don't have a podcast, you'll be able to take those AI tools and use them for the other marketing you're doing, the other content marketing. So don't just think it's just for podcasting. That's amazing. Wonderful. Is it a video training? Is it
It is a video training.
Yay. How fun is that? So you don't have to read anything, y'all. You just get to enjoy Michele and her high vibes right there in front of you on video. If you're like me, I can't just listen to things, and I get bored reading. So video keeps me more focused. Michele, that is fabulous. How to use AI tools to pump up your podcast, you all. And you also have access to how to overwhelm in 7 easy steps. Woohoo! From your very own Dr. B. And a cheat sheet is coming very soon. A cheat sheet to boost your profits. And that's going to be super exciting. So that's coming as well. But again, you've got thousands and thousands of dollars of stuff, y'all. So you are just going to want to scurry over there, take your badass over there and grab it at bit.ly/free from Dr. B. Well, Michele, as we close, you have been a fantastic guest. And as we close, what words of badass encouragement would you give people who are like, oh my God, this sounds like a lot to do, this podcast stuff? What words of encouragement would you give to the listeners today?
Oh my gosh, my last words of wisdom, I think, are if you are not embarrassed by your first few episodes, whether you're a podcast guest or a host, you waited too damn long to get them out there. So get your message out there. Just press record. And one more last amazing tip for you is that if you are going to put your tools and give your gift away, what modality do people listen to podcasts in? Audio. These are audio learners. So put something in video or audio for them, not an ebook. They don't want to read an ebook.
I don't want to read. I hate that because you know me, I've got, I do actually love to read. It's just that I don't read for long periods of time. And most people don't have time to do that. So they're listening when they're out jogging, or they're listening, as you pointed out, while they're doing the laundry or the dishes. Mm-hmm. You want to make sure you have it in video format and audio format. We're working on the audio format now, y'all. Pretty soon, Bold Badass Business is going to be in audio format. Boy, that sounds good, doesn't it? With a redneck accent.
Yes, I
Oh,
like it.
Badass Business, where we give you badassery. So, by the way, Michele, I really have wanted a miniature donkey. I've talked about it on the show. I want my own miniature donkey who can be the bold badass. That's all I have to say. And I want to dress it up. I just want to dress it up and have him be the mascot here. So I'll let you know when that happens. Maybe I'll hire a donkey for my birthday party.
There you go.
How fun would that be? Our virtual birthday party, and Barnsley's in our office with a donkey, a miniature donkey. All right, you all. Well, I hope we have entertained you. And I know that you have definitely taken a lot away that has given you food for thought that you can apply not just to podcasting, but you follow up in your business. That's what distinguishes most people who are sorry asses from badasses. Again, this is Bold Badass Business. Thank you so much, Michele, for being here. And I'll see you all next week. When is it? Fridays at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific, right here. Don't miss an episode. And when you go in the vault, you can listen to the ones you missed, okay? All right. Love y'all. See you next week.
Bye.